Welcome back to The Rounds with SEMD. You know, this is where we dive deep into data and tools and strategies that move the automotive industry forward. I am your host once again, Sean Rains, and today we're talking about something that has dealers, well, it's always making them scratch their head. It's Google Analytics 4. It's been out there for a bit, but I don't know that anybody really wanted to give it a big hug, at least from the dealer side. So guess what? Today, joining me, Cody Jerry, superstar, one of the sharpest minds on the team at SEMD, and a key player in helping dealers rebuild the really powerful reports that they used to rely on in universal analytics, from VDP views to traffic quality, high value visits, lots more. Cody's going to walk through how to get it back even better in GA4. And who knows what other tricks he may have up his sleeve or sleeves. Maybe he has that many tricks. If you've ever wondered how to actually use GA4 without losing your mind, or worse, your conversions, well, this is the episode for you. So let's get right into it. First place that I want to open the conversation is just how you doing? That's that dog days of winter or into it. Almost.
Oh, I'm doing good. Trying to stay outdoors. It's down to like 1 degree some days, which has been interesting. Normally, I don't try to be too outdoorsy when it gets into this type of winter because it's so moist air and all that. Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I won't dox either of us, but we live in different parts of the country. It gets colder, sustainably longer where you live than it is where I live. But we do get cold weather down here in Texas. But yeah, doing good and really looking forward to this conversation. I know that a lot of dealers, I think a lot of people in general, but certainly in our industry, were very apprehensive, nervous, uneasy about the switch from Universal to Google Analytics 4. And I know that we've had conversations and made some content around this topic that are really good. And yet it feels like this is the timing is good to actually come back and have some more dialogue about this and some of the areas that dealers just probably don't have really good people that are kind of holding their hand and helping them understand, hey, this is where you can get some of these things back and where it needs to go. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to start in kind of the area of being able to do kind of custom definitions and dimensions would, I guess, be where it starts. And yeah, I know you mentioned this, and to be able to build these reports that we're going to talk about, I want you to kind of tell me, well, what do we need to know about them? Where could you get the list? Just kind of fill in the blanks there on that for the dealers.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to share my screen, which is unusual for us, but
bonus,
right? All right, let me do the right screen.
It's a screen share today on the rounds.
It's a screen share. All right. So the first thing that we're going to look at is something called custom definitions. And where we find these is down here on the bottom left. There's an admin button. And when we go here, there's 2 different ways to get to it. But if you scroll down to data display, there's going to be custom definitions. They're actually called custom dimensions here in here. I don't know why it's custom definitions and custom dimensions. But basically, with the Automotive Standards Council, which you can go to their website and you can download their whole specifications. It's a big old Excel spreadsheet. It's just automotivestandardscouncil.com. But basically, most of the vendors in the auto industry have agreed to use similar or identical dimensions for their events. And that way you can build the same reports pretty much regardless of which vendors you're working with. And there's a couple who are still outliers that are not using these. But for the most part, most people use them. And what they are attached parameters to each event. So instead of just having events, we actually have this laundry list of potential parameters that are available. And we have 35 in here. There are things like affiliation, which doesn't pop up a whole lot, com outcome, com status. But the ones we're really going to be playing with are down here, which is item category, item color, item condition. These are attachments to things like VDP views, SRP views. Different lead sources may pass this information, so you can get an idea of potentially how many calls from your VDPs for which color vehicles and that type of thing, where you can combine different metrics together to build reports that can help your car buyers buy better cars. Maybe there's certain colors of cars that do better on your website and do better with marketing. Maybe there's different things associated with what model, what trim, and which in here it's called variant. It's not called trim. But getting these set is really important for the rest of these reports. If you don't have these, you can't actually make any of the reports that we're about to build. And it's really important to build these. The funny thing, though, is when you build them, it takes 24 hours for Google to process them. So you won't have the data until tomorrow if you built them today. So regardless of what you have going on after this, I would 100% recommend that you build these custom dimensions out under custom definitions so you can build all the reports we're going to talk about.
Hmm. Very interesting. Well, hey, a 24-hour wait seems reasonable to me. I know that in the world of instant gratification, some people will be like, no, but you know, I think 24 hours is reasonable. Well, I'll ask you this maybe later on. I'm very, very curious just with this first insight around what Google may be doing with AI inside of GA4, if anything. And then if not, things that you could grab from what you just shared and what is, I'm guessing, going to be several different very interesting nuggets that could be then exported and taken into an AI environment to then kind of do some more stuff. But I don't want to get a cart before any horse. I've been
No worries.
that.
That's exciting now. I can't wait to actually hear that question.
Okay. All right. So can we talk a little bit about report categories?
Sure. So I'm sure you are well aware what universal analytics look like, but it was nothing like this. When you first go into GA4, it has business objectives, which a couple of these reports might be useful for you. Drive sales, which none of this is going to be set up, basically. And a bunch of other things. So it's not automotive friendly out of the gate. It's not what you would expect. And even if you're trying to get into like an organic report, like down here, we have a couple built already, but these aren't standard. Like, it's organic Google business profile traffic. It's not a standard report. All you get usually is this one. What you can't click into this, like in Universal Analytics, you used to be able to click these and see that specific data. It's not here anymore. So we actually recommend creating separate ones. Down here at the bottom, there's something called library, and you can either choose to keep these different, I guess they're actually called collections. I thought they were called categories previously, but these different collections basically collect different reports. And we recommend creating a new one. So if we go here, create new collection, I'm just going to do a blank one because everything we're going to do here, we're going to call Automotive. And right now, we don't really have any reports. So I'm just going to grab one to demonstrate what it looks like to drag something in. Actually, we have to create a new topic first. We're going to call this traffic because all the reports under here is going to be traffic reports. And you just drag it over there. Hit save. And it's weird, you actually have to hit the back button. And it's not published, as you can see, it's not over here. So we're gonna hit publish, and now we have our traffic report. So you can completely customize this left side. Most people don't do this. I've actually not seen anybody else go into this process of building these reports out because there's other ways to pull the data out. They'll give you a good idea of like, here's your Google business profile traffic for this particular dealership. As you can see, somebody's messing with their UTMs inside their Google business profile. So it's split between 3 different names. That's the type of stuff that you want to watch for with this report. But yeah, you can customize all of it.
Wow. Like, holy smokes. And I'm not talking about the camel Turkish blend of my past. That's okay. Just side question here.
Yeah.
Do you share that where you do get, I mean, we talked about it in the intro, like, let's rebuild some of these things that you used to like to have in Universal Analytics. Do you have dealers that are like, what? Like, they're just, okay. Yeah. Well, it just feels like a room that got cleaned out. Everyone's like, we're not going in there anymore. You turn off the light, close the door, like that. Like, we're never going back in there. And you just crack the door open, turn the light. Like, no, it actually, we have furnished this just the way you remember it. And like, this is like, I feel like this is probably not being utilized by maybe hardly anybody, any dealers out there.
Not that I've seen. I imagine there's some really advanced dealerships out there that are doing custom things over here, but it's not often.
Well, I love this because, I mean, and you know this, but I'll just add this commentary for the audience. And thanks for tuning in to listen, watch. This is the kind of thing where you may have felt like something could never be reclaimed. And this is why Cody and the SEMD team are so valuable in the industry. They're like the barbarians who are like, we're going to do all the hard work. That's what you guys enjoy. And the reclamation of something that was once really important that a lot of people kind of lamented over, like, why did they have to make it, like, these changes were so significant? But there's a way. So if you have will, there's a way to attach that to, and Cody and the SCMD team can actually help you find that. I think that's pretty cool, actually. I love it. I love it because I did used to spend a lot more time in analytics before GA4. I have spent very, very little amounts of time in GA4. And this is great. What an awesome insight. Very, very cool capability. So we're kind of in it talking about the kind of the rebuild of universal analytics reports in categories like, automotive. Let's talk a little bit more about that in terms of creating some of those UA reports like the organic search and paid search. And I'm with you. I hate the fact that in GA4 you cannot click down and drill down into each of those categories. It just feels so wrong that they did that. But maybe there's hope.
I still click them today, and it's been what, like 5 years now, 6 years?
Yes, I do the same.
So the first report, we started as an SEO company. So the first report I always like to build, and we're under reports and library, and we're going to create a report, and it's going to be a detailed report. And the reason why I like detailed reports is because it comes with a graph and a table. And for me, I love a good graph when it comes to data because things change time, like anything can change day to day. And we want a traffic acquisition report. The great thing about GA4 is traffic acquisition is going to show up in a different spot every time you open this. For me today, it's right here. For you, it probably won't be right here. It changes literally maybe a couple times per day where I will see it. But we're going to grab a traffic acquisition. And first off, it just looks like the regular traffic acquisition report that you get. You see your session primary channel over here, paid social, organic, so on. Well, we're going to fix this. We're going to go over here to the right side. There's something called report filter. I'm going to click on that. And we're looking for session default channel group, which is the worst name of anything. And you're going to hear me say session default channel group over and over and over again because it pops up all the time. We're going to do exactly matches and organic search. And this is going to be the basis of our first report because we're looking at organic search. We're going to hit apply. Now you can see my primary channel over here is just organic search. And that's not too useful for me. So I'm actually going to click on dimensions, add a dimension, and there'll be a landing page. And we want landing page without the query string. The argument here for organic is that if you have a UTM on your GBP or Google Business Profile, you can see the query string of that. But for us, we're just going to pick landing page. So it's just the regular page path. It's just really clean. And set this as default. And that's going to give us our landing page with sessions, engaged sessions, engagement rate, average engagement time per session, and a bunch of other stuff. But it has some useless things like total revenue. So we're going to go into metrics, delete total revenue. As you can see here, there's session key event right twice. It's not really, it's just a glitch in GA4. I don't know why it's there, but it's just always there. But we do want to add total users. So I use the search bar. I'm going to add total users because I want to know, like maybe I have lots of repeat visitors. So I just drag it up here by sessions. And now I can see 1,392 sessions hit my homepage and 1,063 users. Of that, we had 32 key events with a conversion rate of 2.08%. And for us, a baseline for organic search, we do want to see the homepage convert above 2%. That means that the UX is fine. So we're right there, 2.08%. But we get to see a bunch of other information, including their location. So we'll have to hide that part. But basically, it's going to give us each of the pages that people land on from organic search. So this is kind of where your SEO is working and what the conversion rates are. Because if we see a page that's not converting as well as we think it should from the session key event rate, we know that we need to work on the usability of that web page. And that's going to be really, really critical for us. So basically, if you're a marketer, an automotive, or even just a general manager, you get in here to look at this report. When you talk to your marketing companies, you're going to say, okay, why is my conversion rate from this page 0%? That seems bad. That shouldn't happen. And that's the type of things we're looking for. So the next step is click save. And I'm just going to call this organic search traffic just to be on the nose as possible. Hit save. As you can see, it changed the name up here on the top left. But we want this to be functional for us. So we're actually going to back out. Go into our automotive collection that we just built. Click on it. Click edit. And we are going to add that new report to our traffic section. Hit save. You're going to save it to the current collection. And we go back out. You can now see under our traffic report, we have both. And the one that's probably most useful and different consultants in the auto industry are very good about giving us this feedback is vehicle ads are actually part of the Google Performance Max system, which is kind of a AI-driven campaign. So even if you have it very, very specific to landing on BDPs in your setup, sometimes it ignores that and does whatever the heck it wants. So our next report, we're going to do the same thing, create a report. It's traffic acquisition. And for us, we send in traffic for vehicle ads as cross network. That's just kind of the default. So same thing, we went up here, session default channel group, exactly matches. And we're going to do cross network. Again, it'll filter down to this. And we want to change this to landing page. So the default, hit apply. And in this particular one, we have a few different campaigns that are running through PMax. So it's going to be a wide variety. What we are looking for is a lot of homepage traffic. And in this case, very little homepage traffic. And the reason why homepage traffic from cross network or vehicle ads is bad is because when you make a Google Merchant Center, you have to specify the URL. And that is a URL that Google's going to choose if they decide not to serve vehicle ads. In this case, it's doing a good job. The campaign's running really well and hitting BDPs. And our goal for us personally, the session key event rate that we're looking for from vehicle ads is above 1%, and the dealership's at 1.89. That typically means the dealership has good prices, good photos, good reputation. Like marketing does a lot of heavy lifting getting people to the website, but if people don't like your dealership, you will have low conversion rates. And this is also a good indicator. It may be the ads, it may be your reputation, but either way, you have to evaluate that.
Yeah, and if you don't have the data points to do it, right, you're just guessing.
And we just removed revenue off there. I forgot to add total users. I always like to add total users just because sometimes there's anomalies where the same person will click an ad over and over and over again, and they may call every single dang time. So it looks like your marketing company is crushing it, but it's one person. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened enough times where if I had a nickel every time, I'd have a few dollars.
Yeah.
You never want that.
Yeah.
We're going to save that one. Just call it vehicle ads traffic. Again, not being too crazy with my naming conventions. I want anybody to be logged into this GA4 account and be like, yeah, that's for my vehicle ads. I'm going to go here, edit. We actually already have another report in here because this is one we almost always build. But we're going to drag the new one here, vehicle ads traffic. Save it to current collection. And basically you want to do that for all the different channels that you saw in that session default channel group, because I think it's good to see your referral traffic, all of those, where they're landing, what they're doing. And if you need to, you can actually add a secondary for the session source medium, because maybe you're running admins and admins comes in as referral, but you're also doing some other referral stuff. But that's the start of where you start to make custom reports like that.
Man, that's awesome. Awesome. I'm listening and I think like the example of somebody who's like, it's the same person multiple times. And I know there are people, because I've had people say before, like, oh, that doesn't really happen that much. I'm like, it totally does. And I'm not going to out people because some of these people I love, but I know their search behaviors. I know that when they'll Google something, they just taught themselves from the very beginning that they just clicked on what's up at the top, especially if it's what they were searching for.
Yep.
And oftentimes it's, well, that's sponsored. So you just totally threw off and made somebody look like they're doing a great job, but it's the same person over and over and over and over and over. Man, these are great. This is really good stuff, Cody. This is really good stuff. Are there some differences if we want to talk about conversion type events? Like you've got old channel reports and you want to see like submissions and click to call and maybe chats and X time events, breaking those things down into different reports. Is that one that you could walk through a little bit?
Oh yeah. So there's two versions that we really like with those. So same thing, I'm in library. We're going to spend lots of time here. I'm going to create a new report, pretty detailed report. And this one's actually going to be based off of events. Traffic acquisition is really good if you want like session key event rate and user key event rate. But when you're looking for event information, it's better to go over here. So this is a regular old event report. As you can see, too much data. It's all the events and the number of times it happened. Just to give you an idea, ASC and media interaction is mostly photo engagement. Some other stuff like menu engagement gets in here as well. So some people like George Nenny have a extra filter that he builds on these where it's ASC gallery engagement, where it's only photos. I usually leave it be. and leave it as ASC media interaction, but there's just too much information here. So we're going to go to head filter, select dimension, and we're going to call it event name. And we're actually going to use regex, which regex means regular expression, which probably didn't help in explaining what it is. But essentially, it's being able to replace different characters, words, things with other information and just kind of shorten the whole filtering process. So first up, we're going to do ASC click to call, and I do periods instead of underscores because technically it's ASC __ click. But since I'm using regex, I can type periods better. And a period means it replaces any character. So it could be literally anything. It doesn't matter. It's going to replace it. So we're going to do ASC click to call with periods in between those. A vertical bar, which means or. ASC com submission. CLMM is what all the chat companies use, or the majority of the chat companies use for their conversion stuff. Then ASC form submission. Now there's some other values you may have to put in here depending on which tool you use and which companies you're working with, because a couple don't follow ASC standards. But this is kind of our base report. So I hit apply. And we have ASC form submissions, ASC click to call, and ASC com submission, which is those chat form fills. There's a different one for chat engagement and chat starts, but we're just only looking at like people actually trying to contact the dealership with this. Next, the metrics are wrong. We don't want revenue, like that's more for e-commerce, but we do want sessions. And that's because we find situations where there's going to be lots of events because people keep trying to click. It could be that the thing fails to actually get somebody to call you. Like there might be something wrong with the code, or we're looking for anomalies and just overall performance. So we have sessions, total users, event count, and event count per active user. We'll replace that one because we want a different one, which is just events per session. And this is looking for, again, those repeat clickers or repeat converters, because that's one of those things that you may have anomalies in where somebody keeps converting accidentally. And here's a case in point. We had 30 times where there was an ASC com submission from 22 people. That means somebody submitted multiple times, probably on multiple vehicles. Could be over multiple days, but we're getting lots of repeat conversions. Looking at the other ones, calls aren't too bad, 57 and 69. You still have lots of repeat callers. Form submissions, 147 users submitted 161 times. So that's the least bad out of these three. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you do want a person to keep calling your dealership because that means they're really dang engaged. So in this one, ASC conversions. I usually always do lowercase on my stuff because for us, it's the long-term look. Like if I ever have to go and gather reports from every single GA4 account, I know if I name them the same exact way, the same exact process, I can go and pull that report. So I'm just trying to be lazy in the future by always being lowercase. It doesn't look as pretty. So if this is you only have like, let's say 10 GA4 accounts, you could pick something completely different. Save that and go back. And we're going to add it to a report. So Automotive, edit. And we're going to create a new topic, which events. Go and grab our ASC conversions. Oop, I forgot to hit apply. There we go. Drag it down there, hit save, save current collection. And now everybody who has access to this GA4 account has access to this report. So we're going to take this a step further in a different way because there's actually 3 dots over here. If you click that, you can make a copy. And we're going to do ASC conversions by channel because you want to know which marketing is working for you. Hit save. We're going to hit 3 dots again, click edit. And instead of having the event names here, we're going to do session. It's actually called something else in here. So just search by channel, and it's session primary channel group. Make that the default. Hit apply. And this is where the majority of those conversions are coming from. You have this in your regular traffic acquisition report, but just a different way to view it.
This is a clinic, Cody.
Hit save on that. And we're going to, again, just add it right to our Automotive so we don't forget to do that later. And we're going to do another version of this that's going to be useful again. Click on 3 dots, make a copy, and we're going to do ASC conversions by vendor because we want to see who's sending us events. hit save, and we're going to edit. And this is where one of the first times, the first time we're getting into the parameters that we talked about earlier. And we are looking for event owner. We're going to set that as default. And this is going to tell us who's sending these events. In this case, Daily Inspire, Autify, and Conversations, I think, is Daily Inspire's chat company.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, you can see if a particular vendor is sending you duplicate events, too many events per click, too many events per session. And there's been a few situations where click-to-calls broke nationwide for different website providers. And this is where we find those anomalies and, try to get this fixed as quickly as possible. I'll save that report. Go back, edit. And like I said, I always go back and do this right away because it's really easy to forget. And they're like, where's my report? So the most useful portion of that report, though, is actually going to be with X time. So if you use the regular ASC form submission, which I use in my filtering, if you have X time connected to GA4 to send events, they will send so many form submissions. So if you find a situation where you just say tons of X time, you can actually go here and add a secondary filter for event owner and filter out a specific company. So you can say exactly matches, and whoever it is, you can select them to now remove, basically. It would be the opposite. So it would be does not match. So it does not exactly match, and then you'd select the company. So if I want to remove Autoify, hit apply, and now I just removed Autoify. So if you have X time blowing up your conversions, you have some other vendor blowing up your conversions with, events you don't want to count towards sales or anything, this is a really good report to just filter that out.
Love it. What about vehicle engagement? What about, can we, now that we've built these things back, now that you are bringing universal analytics, I guess, back to life or alive in the GA4 environment, where people are already, I guarantee you, they're this far in, and if they were actually not just faking it, but they were UA users, they're already like, this is amazing. You're literally giving them the step-by-step ABC finger paints how-to, which is great, because I don't think I've seen any content quite like this. Let's talk about, okay, for the people that realize, oh my goodness, I got all this stuff back now, I can see what's going on, I want to take this next step with what vehicles are getting engaged with. How do you make that report on like the things that people like get excited about? VDP views, various engagement.
Absolutely. So we're going to do this as an event report because with the ASC standards, those are all going to be event-based. So create new report, events, and right away under dimensions, we're going to change this to item. We're going to add condition. We're going to add color. We're going to add model. Actually, make first. And model. Item ID is the VIN number. I'm not going to use that in this, but I highly recommend this for your store to add a item ID or the VIN number filtering. So you can see this report by VIN number. We're not going to do that just because, VIN numbers are identifiable for whose business this is. So we're not going to use that one in this report, but 100% recommend item ID, VIN number, or item number, which is your stock number. And the last part, we're going to add a variant. So I suppose we'll add year. I just saw that as I was scrolling down. And what this is going to be is going to give us the basis for all the next reports. So our initial one, we just want to look at new and used VDP views. So we're going to do by item condition. Hit apply. So we get used, not set, new. It's not quite useful for us yet. And that's where the filter comes in. We're going to add a filter. The filter is going to be based off of page type. And depending on how you set up your custom dimensions, we just follow literally what the parameter is. So we have page underscore type. Some people have them separated. However you have it set up in your account, you'll have to pay attention to that. But I'm going to do page type, exactly matches, and it's item. Really useful name. And this one filters down to just VDPs. So now we have used, new CPO, not set because sometimes the parameter doesn't come through. And then we have a blank one. So just basically these bottom three. Parameter failed to come through. That happens, as you can see, not an astronomical amount of times, but it does happen enough where we'll see like 1,000 events like that. But this is just all events on these. So it's going to pick up every dang thing. And we don't want that. We want to filter it further. So we're going to go down to event name. And we're going to filter by the ASC media interaction, which is not only photo engagement, but mostly photo engagement. Hit apply, and you had 167,378 photo engagements at this dealership from 4,960 people. On average, that's 33.76 photos per active user. So these people are pretty active on this website.
And we have an idea of kind of what is driving certain engagements here now. And is there, I'm guessing there is, you can take this even further.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to delete out revenue first because we're going to use this as a base for other reports. Add sessions. So do sessions, total users, event count, but I am filtering by event count because ultimately that's what matters. I just want those extra reports. So 7,179 session versus 167,000 ASC media interaction events. Hit save. Engagement by condition. Normally I would add it right away, but we're actually going to back out and we're going to duplicate this. Make a copy. And we're going to do engagement by model. Because you have situations where you have to sell a certain number of a model, and if you don't have people interacting with it, you're probably not going to sell it. So we make this report to go and break this down by model. So go to dimensions, set as default on the item model, hit apply, and now we can see Silverado's generating the majority of their sessions and the majority of their engagement. And it's actually one of their highest interaction, but based off the average, it's 35.74. So they actually have different vehicles that engage better. So some of the highlights here, QX60 apparently has 36 photo engagements. Not just photos, but we're going to call it photo engagement per active user. And we can expand this down. You can see basically everything they have. Suburban Camaro. For whatever reason, people are really looking at 19 photos on this Camaro. So for me, that would jump out and say, okay, is there something wrong with the photos on this Camaro? Are they looking for something like, is it manual? Is there a certain feature? Is there a certain setting? If you're up in the north, it'd be people looking for heated seat buttons everywhere because sometimes that VIN explode definition that you get on the BDPs isn't too useful.
Yeah.
It's a big long list. So this is where you find the cars that people may not like the photos of, may not like the prices. And again, if you did this by VIN number, which we're not going to pull in, but then you can see the literal car and its average engagement.
Yeah, this is it's really important for the people in the store. If you have a small store, one person who's that meticulous inventory manager who wants to know all the details and what can we do through reporting and analytics to, pop those really, really decision-making insights right up to the top. And is a perfect example of something that unfortunately all of these fundamentals always end up in the backseat for some reason. But that's critically important. Really, really important. We talked about it before we actually went live about pictures and there's always, everyone's got a few nightmare stories of pictures that actually made it to the internet on vehicles that shouldn't have. But there's also stories to be told, and there are insights that come right out of just the pictures or the visual content. If you have video and pictures of the vehicles, there are sometimes things right within that component of the vehicle listing that a slight change could actually make a big difference. Very interesting.
So I just added item inventory date. And this is when this car hit the lot. And we can see this year, 2500 has been here since August. And it's getting low engagement for the average. And this is a situation where we've had lots of sessions, lots of users, and low photo engagement. It's been here too long, right? This is 4 months old at this point. So this is a car you'd want to identify and probably take new photos, really evaluate the pricing on it because marketing's driving people to the website to look at it, but it's not selling.
Yeah. They definitely don't have it sitting there because they want it to be 120-day plus turn.
Oh. The next one is going to be, again, duplicating this. And we're going to duplicate based off of condition just because it doesn't have everything in it. Make a copy. And we're going to do engagement by channel. Hit save. I'm going to click into it. And instead of condition, we're going to do by channel. So again, in the event report, you have to do session primary channel group instead of the other one. says default, hit apply. So it'll be first by which traffic's generating the engagement on the VDPs. There's still a page type item and ASC media interaction. And then we're going to add item model to this. So we can see by channel, where are people being driven to each of those models. So paid social, silver out of 1500, 422 sessions. Average engagement that came in from Facebook was 30.39, which is below average, but still better than some of the other ones. F-150, 19.95. Low engagement on those. So you want to go back and evaluate your paid social, say, okay, what's wrong with this situation? If they come in on this F-150, why did they not engage well? Hit save. But you can do any sort of combination of variant, which again is a trim, color, price. Color is going to be the exterior color, and all these different parameters that are available on the VDPs with this report, and just keep messing around more and more and more. Like, let's say, again, item ID is the VIN number. We're not going to pull that in. That gives you an idea. Number is a stock number. Price is actual price. Like when we pull in the variant, just to show you. This LT trim is the best trim. Normally you'd use a model and a trim. Really good car people are going to be able to understand which trim is for which car. But if you're more on the marketing side, you may not identify that right away. But you can do so much with this to see how people are engaging with your cars, where they're coming from, how they're engaging. And I think just VDP reports like this are just so critical to see what your marketing is actually doing to move cars.
Yeah, no kidding. So vehicle engagement reports, there you go. You mentioned here also a little bit on that channel attribution of which channels now are driving better engagement. I don't know if you want to go any deeper on that one. I do want to talk to you about traffic quality reports too. So I don't know if you want to go into that one. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's say, that person who's got that concerns about maybe my traffic quality is garbage. How do you make a report to look at that?
So we're going to stay in the library again. We're going to create a new report, create detailed report. This one's going to be on landing page. Now, initially, it's going to be just a regular landing page. It's clean. We are going to change this to the full landing page plus query string. And the reason why we're going to do this is because Facebook passes a Facebook click ID and Google passes a Google click ID. This is going to give us a better idea, person by person, who's engaging with the website. So we're going to go add filter because we're just going to pick on paid social right now. We're going to do by session default channel group. Exactly matches. Paid social. As you can see, a bunch of these had the Facebook click ID. Some of them came in without it. That's common for whatever reason. But we see lots of sessions and each of these only getting a couple because this Facebook click ID is designed to basically identify a user. So it's not completely one individual person. As you can see, it's one user, one active user, 5 sessions. So it's pretty close to that in this concept. But there's a few things we're looking for. So we're going to get rid of total revenue because we don't want it. We actually want to add a user key event, which I'm going to just search key event. So give me my user key event, right? And I don't want average engagement per session. I actually want average session duration, which we didn't initially have in GA4, and they added it later on, I believe. But what we're looking for is low time on site. Paid social is notorious for pogo sticking, where you'll click on one car in the catalog on the Facebook ad, look at it for a few seconds, hit back, click on the next car, look at it for a few seconds, and hit back. So it's pretty common that you'd get lots of low session durations. What we're looking for is 0 seconds. The first engagement event that fires is at the 10-second mark within GA4. So if they're on the website less than 10 seconds, it's going to pop a 0 regardless. And if there's multiple sessions, sometimes they're there for multiple seconds and sometimes they're there for 0 seconds. You're going to get a number smaller than 10. But you're looking for these zeros because these 0 seconds typically mean a traffic issue. So we just got rid of revenue. We're going to hit apply. And this is now our average session duration instead of what we had before. We have it filtered by sessions. And I'm going to expand this out just because 10's not a whole lot. So this particular person, again, we have VIN numbers here. So we'll be filtering this out so you can't see the VINs over here. But essentially, it's just a URL structure for their VDPs and then a big long Facebook click ID that identifies a user. All that will be blurred out for you, unfortunately. But what we're looking for on sessions is how many sessions, how many active users, how many new users, and typically it's going to be the same person over and over again. How long does that person stay on the website for? And do they convert? And most of the time you'll see very low conversion rates here per person. but you're looking for a session key event rate on paid social, typically of about 1%. And for user key event rate, usually higher than session key event rate by a little bit. But for paid social, in a perfect world, you're going to be at 1%. Most people don't hit that. I think other people actually say it's supposed to be 0.7. But in a perfect world, you'd be converting at a high rate. So scrolling down here, this person, 1 second, and editing their collision center. That's not good. You want people to spend a lot more than 1 second on your collision center website or collision center page. We can go through all here. You're looking for low engagement. If you have tons of low engagement, then you'd be asking questions of your paid social company. Why is that? Is there something we could do to improve the traffic quality? Is there different events you could be firing to filter my audiences? What campaigns are we running that are causing this? It's just really functional to get that type of information. And you can swap this out instead of paid social. You can do one for paid search, one for cross network if you want to look at the vehicle ads. And you can go evaluate, like, are you landing on good people? Are you getting bots? Because all these tools or all these marketing platforms are notorious for bots. So this is just a really, really good report to see, what kind of engagement are you getting from your shoppers, and are they engaging at a good rate? Who's converting? How are they converting? So let me actually show that. So I just filtered by key events. And under here, there's a little drop down. I can actually swap and say, I only want to know my form submissions. This user, one person, submitted 2 different forms. And going back to what we talked about initially, do you have repeat converters that are skewing your metrics? Thankfully, it only happened twice on this account. Otherwise, this would be awkward. But if you have a lot of repeat visitors, I don't want to suggest immediately that could be somebody that's more on the low credit situation. But if you're seeing 10, 15 submissions, that could be somebody who's basically just like, I need a car. I don't care what it is. Just help me. And you can then go back to your CRM because you can pull in dates and events and try to establish who that person is and treat them a little bit differently, potentially. Like if they're all over the place, you need a salesperson who's going to be able to do that qualification of what do you need out of car? What are you going to do with the car? Yeah, it needs analysis so you can help them choose the right. Yeah. All right, we're going to save this, call it paid social landing page engagement, which is way too long. It won't fit. We're just going to be pretty straightforward on it. So that's what I do for trying to evaluate if it's good traffic or not on a website.
Well, I've been quiet during this long answer because it's so amazing. Like, I immediately, Cody, started thinking about like the past of Universal Analytics, and literally the last big company that I worked for. I remember doing a presentation where just on this topic around traffic quality and how do you extract all of those things, wrapped up in kind of an entertaining Metallica themed presentation. But it was basically on trying to evaluate channels, like which ones should you be investing in and why. And back then, I don't think any of this has ever been perfect, but it's been pretty good. And this particular segment here that you've been walking through, I love it because I don't think there's enough in the dealer side of our industry. I don't think there's enough emphasis that's kind of put on, yeah, you should be doing a lot of different things in marketing, the traffic from multiple sources, but you do really need to pay attention to the differences because you may actually want to have a strategy to chase a little bit more of the referral traffic because of why. Maybe it correlates to a higher conversion rate, right? And then you have to even dig in further, like, well, where are all the places where you are getting referral traffic? And is there anything you can do specifically in each of those channels? And you don't know that if you don't know that.
Yep.
It's brilliant. Just really, really good stuff. There's a couple other areas that I want to talk about before we kind of wrap this session of the rounds, and I want to make sure you're good with getting your thoughts a little bit more on like this kind of, because we're in this traffic area, like high value segmentation, bad visits. You're kind of in that area if you want to emphasize any more of that. We could also move into conversion optimization. People think that they know about CRO, and I think they just maybe learned the acronym right now for the first time. I definitely want to get your thoughts on those areas too before we completely wrap. Any thoughts on where you might want to still cover?
So let's do one more on engagement. And this one's actually really short. So I'm still in the same GA4 cut. I'm going to click on admin. And down here, there's something called audiences. And for what any marketer would know, this is how you build audiences for marketing. But you're not limited to this. So in here, we just have basic ones: form submission, page type, page item. So nothing crazy, like this is essentially a report for VDP views. But what we want is high engaged users. So we're going to click on new audience, create a custom audience. And it's going to go back to that same event that we talked about earlier. Event name exactly matches. Exactly matches. ASC media interaction. Try at any point, hit apply. And now we're going to add a condition to it of event. I'm sorry. It's going to be event count, but it's going to be ASC media interaction. Event count. And it's going to be greater than 20. And what this is going to do is tell us the individual users, 3.2 thousand of them, that looked at 20 or more photos when they're on our website. We want to create an audience off this. And it used to be called create an event. Now it's an audience trigger. Or we're going to actually send this as an event so we can look at this later. See, media over 20. Oop, we have to do underscores. And the reason we didn't put interaction is because you have other reports that are going to filter on ASC media interaction. So it's to be a slightly different name so you don't break other reports. We're going to hit save. We're going to set to maximum limit. And we're just going to do photo views over 20. So nothing creative here. This is only for this section. Hit save. And now going forward, whenever somebody looks at more than 20 photos on the website or on one of those cars, it's going to put them in an audience and send in a new event into GA4. So I can get an idea of which channel produces the most highly engaged users. And also I can break it down by day to see, how many highly engaged users I have day to day. That way I can really have a good idea of what my best marketing mediums are. Because typically what we see is if they're highly engaged on photos, there's a good chance that they're actually going to come to the dealership to buy it. If they don't engage highly on photos, it's pretty unlikely they will.
I love that. I love that. This is a clinic. This is so helpful. This is exactly what dealers need more and more of. Somebody that will walk them through this. I'll say it again. This is like a reclamation project of things that you had in Universal Analytics that you lamented over, and now you can get all these things back. But you're kind of also throwing a little bit of plus. I think some people are going to come away from this, because this will live forever. But I think some people are going to come away from this, Cody, and say, "Oh my goodness, Cody just totally made me actually like GA4." Like, I'm not only going to be not warring against it now, I'm going to actually go back and do what I should have done when it first came out. Well, we kind of didn't know all these things. People needed to play with it and figure it all out over time. And you mentioned George Nenny as well. And I know that, he's been out there almost since the beginning, really kind of trying to help educate, but we just need so much more of this because it's helpful. This is where the wins and losses kind of are made, whether you know what you're doing or you're not knowing what you're doing. And it's also where, I hate to say it, but it's true, this is also where dealers can be taken advantage of horribly when they just don't know what's really, really going on. And somebody knows what you're walking through much better than them. If you're superior at understanding what's going on with these points of data, and you know that the people that it matters more to don't know, they don't have your level of inside education capability, then you are literally a prime example of somebody who can be taken advantage, and you can't even defend yourself, which I don't like that. So I love that you're just walking through this the way that you are clinically. It's amazing. Do you want to, I don't want to push you into it too quickly, but do you want to talk a little bit on the CRO or the conversion optimization side?
I do. And this is probably one of my favorite reports. And I've been living in library this whole time. We're actually going to go to Explore, which is a completely separate section for reporting what people are mostly used to. And again, we have identification of the dealership, so that'll be blurred out for you. But we're going to click on freeform. And most people would probably think to click on blank. I like to be a little bit lazier on this. When we click freeform, it's going to give you some of those values immediately, so you don't have to build it all from scratch. So I typically go freeform. And the reason why we're going here is that this is a pivot table. I believe that's what it's called, where you have filter from top and bottom. But we are going to first remove this because we don't need that and we don't need the device category. And we actually need form name, which is one of those custom dimensions that we recommend. And element text, which is, again, one of those parameters we recommend adding. On this left side, this row, we're going to put element text in form name. So we can see all these different element text. Right now it's not filtered, so it's absolutely everything, includes a menu, which this is also useful for evaluating the menu. Like this is kind of the base step, this element text. On column, we're going to filter event name. And we want event count for the first part. But we also want sessions and total users. You can see pretty often I use all three of these together. And that the sessions and total users are under metrics, whereas the other stuff is under dimensions. I believe it's only going to give us 2 here. Sometimes it gives us 3. There it is. And I'm going to sort sessions, total users, and event count. And finally, a filter. And it's going to go based off of event name, because we only want form events. And we're going back to regex. So first one's ASC CTA interaction. So it's going to be anytime somebody interacts with the CTA. And I'm using regex, so I get to use periods instead of underscores. ASC form interaction. ASC form submission. This is going to give us our short funnel here of people clicking on CTAs. Form engagement, not interaction. So the ASC form engagement. So, we need one more filter. So I don't have it in here, but we do need page type. So page type, and we only want VDP views. That's why we're filtering this. So we added it to the dimensions. We're going to do page type exactly matches item. And we are going to sort by sessions. It says it's sorted. It definitely was not. All right, so check availability. This is your highest used CTA on VDPs. It's apparently giving away additional information for a company. So let me filter that. It's interesting it's doing that. That means people are clicking on directions. All right, so that one's not going to be as useful in this part. For you, what you're looking at in this is going to be looking to see which CTAs or which call to action people are using, because that's the start of the funnel. Like if they're opening up that call to action, then you can see how many people open that, and when you follow it through, you can see the rest of that process. For this purpose, we can see the other parts of the report. I'm actually going to remove this first thing for the element text just because it has business identifiable information. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now we're down to form engagement and form submission. So on their VDPs, they had 59 people engaged with forms, which is definitely on the lower side, for 14 form submissions. And the reason why this is important is because we run into situations like we saw one just earlier this week where we had 3,000 form engagements and 70 people completed the form. What you're looking at here is what specific form is causing issues where people are opening it, but not completing the submission. And that tells you that there's something wrong in that form process. In the one that we looked at where we had very low submission rate, the only way you could submit a form was when you got a text message to your phone and confirmed you're a real person. Don't do that. It super failed, unfortunately. I don't know if there was more to it. Maybe it wasn't texting people properly, but 70 out of 3,000 was just a terrible, terrible conversion rate. So we haven't seen the results of removing that. I think the website company is in the process of fixing that UX issue. But you'd be looking for that same problem where you have high form engagement, low form submissions. That means there's a UX problem on your VDPs with your forms. You definitely want to look into that. We can also do this based off of the SRP. So instead of using page type exactly matches item, we're going to do item list, which is the SRP. And we only had 7 people engage with forms on the SRPs, but 5 of them submitted. So it depends on which website platform you're on. There's a couple website platforms that really hang their hook or hang their hat on their ability to convert people on SRP pages. This is not one of those website providers. They're almost always exclusively send people to the VDP. But you may find that even if you have CTAs and buttons on your SRPs, nobody cares about them. If that's the case, you're not getting leads, you're not getting submissions, you're not getting calls. You would want to get rid of that CTA. Because if it's not useful for anybody, it's not useful for your consumers, there's no need to have it on the website.
Right.
So this is kind of the shortfall. This website company doesn't have a whole lot of forms. Sometimes there's like 7 or 8 different forms on here. In this case, there's only 2. And one of them, this vehicle finder service, for whatever reason, didn't fire a engagement event, but they did get a form submission. That randomly happens. And this is the type of information you're looking for.
Yes, very interesting. Okay, so I'm the dealer who says, I've made these reports. I've spent a month reviewing everything that I saw Cody walk me through. It took me a little bit longer because I sell cars. I'm not trying to be a techie. What's my workflow, daily, weekly? Like, how am I going to use this? Maybe I think that's always a good refresher, because I think anytime somebody watches what you've walked through today on the rounds, people are going to go back through it slowly and, methodically, and, maybe pick the pieces that really matter to them most, but they are going to have to think through, like, okay, what's my usability look like? What's my workflow going to look like? What do you recommend there? How do you say they're going to use this info?
So number 1, everybody always says, trust the data, use the data. I like feelings in sales. Like, sometimes you feel it's slow, and it is what it is. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
When you feel it's slow, if you have these reports built, you get to go look, previous days, because us getting slow isn't today. It's something, was changed, something isn't working over the last several days or weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that feeling, you can go back into these reports by channel, by engagement on those VDPs to see when it changed, and then track that back. If you're documenting like your price changes really well at the dealership, so when you change prices, when you change processes, if you had a bad customer who may have complained to other people, you can track it back to certain dates when it actually impacted your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take good notes, unfortunately, to track back your feelings. But anytime you have a feeling it's not working, it's going slow, go back to the data to see why. Is a certain channel not working as well? Because if you feel slow and one channel dropped, it's probably the case that that channel is doing something for you. You don't want to put all your eggs in that basket, because it can't in marketing, but that's a good way to, as part of that feeling, reaffirm like this is what it may have been. 2, I like the VDP ASC media interaction reports. I think you should look at those every few days, because if you see major drops in photo engagement, part of it could be because you just sold the car that everybody wanted and looked at tons of photos. Like, we had a Mercedes Benz that was like $5,000 in a major metro hit the market, and we had 300 leads overnight. So our response was delete that car out of the feed, so we cannot advertise it. Thankfully, it only ate about $100 out of the budget, but it did not belong there. It was a bad car to continue to advertise, because they were just going to wholesale. I mean, you're not going to keep a $5,000 Mercedes in your inventory.
Yeah.
So if you catch that fast, you can communicate with your marketing companies and stop money from being wasted.
Mm.
You may not want to do it every single day, but every few days, opening up that report to see, have things changed? What's that trajectory look like in that graph? Because that part of your workflow is going to make sure that you don't waste money as often. Like, the marketing is going to waste some money here and there. And also just make sure that your cars are being advertised well.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I have to say, I'm not going to let you bury the lead of feelings. I love that you actually brought that up. I think some people maybe would want to argue on that topic, but the reality is that especially for people who have been in an industry for a long period of time, your intuition actually does serve you well more frequently than you realize. And oftentimes your first, like, initial, kind of gut reaction, we've demonized it in the automotive industry over years. Like, if you're just making decisions by your gut, you're going to screw up. That's somebody who's trying to sell you something that matters to the data, that they're like, look at what we could show you down to the actual penny. Like, okay, whatever. That hasn't actually worked out quite as well in the digital age as some people want it. Yes, it's very helpful, but I love the fact that you have spent this time to give people the specifics, teaching them how to put all these reports together, which are full of what? Data, specific, micro levels of data for decision making. But then, here, as we're about to bookend this thing, you say, hey, feelings actually matter. And they do, because there are a lot of people who have been in the industry for a long time that they just know it's off. They know why. It's their instinct. It's their intuition. They've been doing it a long time. They're good with hunches.
Yep.
In case anybody knows what I just referenced there, which happens to be a kind of a popular show, somebody good with hunches. But that's just something in pop culture right now that I'm attaching to this, and people cryptically have to be like, what's he referencing? Maybe they know, maybe they don't. But there are people who are good with hunches, oftentimes because they know a vertical, a business so deeply that you can't turn that off. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. If the listeners, viewers, the consumers of the rounds, remember one thing only from this, what would you want that to be?
I would say that as long as you have all your ASC stuff set up, which if you don't, you'll want to talk to your website company, chat company, everybody to request that they send their ASC events to your GA4. If you have that set up, the report that you dreamed of probably exists in GA4 and you can build it. If you don't know how to right now, you can talk to experts like us to go and get that report built, or you can not talk to anybody. Download the ASC Standards Console PDF on all their different events, upload it to ChatGPT, and tell it, show me how to make this report, and AI will walk through step by step by step. Sometimes it gets it wrong, so you may still need help. But like, there's so many different ways you can learn GA4 now that it's amazing, and you can build any report that you probably want.
Love it, Cody. There are a lot of companies out there that will put a gate or a barrier in between the level of education that you just dropped today on the rounds, in between that and whether or not you would exchange money with them ahead of time before they would teach you what you just taught people, which could literally make people more money. It could help them strategically operate their dealerships much more profitably or protect themselves from nefarious parasitic type of vendors that are in the marketplace. And there are many. So fantastic. This has been really, really good. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for today's episode of The Rounds. Huge thanks to Cody. You broke down this complex topic in a way that this is going to be great content that lives for a long time. The world of GA4 frustrated a lot of dealers. A lot of people did feel like it took things, right? And now what do I do with it? And there have been very few. I can't literally think of anybody, and George has been out there a long time, but there are very few people who have actually been walking through how to reclaim and then how to utilize in the future. And then you just even said there's probably something that you might be dreaming of and you didn't see an example of here, but it probably could be done. That's also hopeful for people in an area of the business that really matters, and that's around analytics and data. So thank you very much. This is going to be truly useful for dealerships. Audience, if you're rebuilding your old channel reports, if you're trying to track real, true VDP engagement, separating out your best traffic from the bots, and much more, this conversation, well, this has been a must listen. And I would share this with people. If you're not following Cody, if you're not following everybody that works for Search Engines MD, SEMD, I always say this, go out and look them up on LinkedIn, start there, follow all of them, engage with them. You can literally send Cody a message on LinkedIn. Hey, what about this? He will give you an answer. This is the kind of people that SEMD are, and they have that reputation. If you found today's episode helpful, subscribe to this content on YouTube. That always just helps, lets us know that you like it. Share it with your team. This is going to be really good in terms of helping to teach people, perhaps within your marketing teams. They might be internal or external. They're going to learn from this. Keep tuning in. This is exactly what we do with the rounds. Lots of awesome discussions just like this one are coming your way. We're always talking about what should be the next thing that we should make to help dealers and help this community. Until next time, we just thank you for making the rounds with us. We're going to see you again really soon.
Thanks, everybody.